We have a super exciting discussion today. We are talking about the book here, Turn Setbacks into Greenbacks by Willie Jolley. So for those of you who have ever had a setback in life, or if you are currently in setback mode, or you will ever have a setback in life, then tonight's live stream is for you. So just getting all my stuff open here, and hopefully Tawana will get here any second, and then we will get started. Okay. I don't see myself live streaming on Twitter, so yeah, I don't see us on Twitter. But anyway, that's okay. We're on every place else. Okay, everybody, welcome. Welcome to the 10K project. Let me start the recording again. Welcome to the 10K project. Everybody put your city and state in the chat so we can recognize you. 10K project is the largest community of investors who actively fund Black-owned businesses. Every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time, we invite our community members to something called a Bet on Black pitch. And the Bet on Black pitch is a time where an entrepreneur, Black entrepreneur, comes to the community and they present their business to the community. All investments are governed by the Securities and Exchange Commission and FINRA. Oftentimes, investments are as little as $100. And what happens is you get to hear the investment presentation. You are able to ask that person questions. They can respond. And then you're able to do your research after the presentation is over. And if you like that company, you're able to invest in that company. And then if the company does well, you get to participate in the upside or the success of that company. So again, these investments are governed by the Securities and Exchange Commission and FINRA. We are not a fund. I get that all the time. We are not a fund. So when you join the 10K project, you are joining as a member. And then as you hear each individual investment, you are able to invest in that and build up a portfolio. You are also able to invest in any of the past campaigns that are still open. So every Monday and Thursday, we send members a list of all of the campaigns that are still open. You're able to go and view the campaigns and hear the original Bet on Black pitches. And if you like those, you're able to build your portfolio as well. A couple other things that we do within the 10K project is, number one, we want you to make sure that you're maximizing your income. So we invite different people to come and talk about different careers you can get into and different businesses you can get into. So next week, we have a couple of people coming. On Wednesday, we actually have a guy coming to talk about getting into tech within a few months. So he has a program that is very reasonably priced, Black guy out in Atlanta that teaches this, has success stories. So, and he actually works with people in small groups in order to help you break into technology, everything from the best type of certifications for you to get. He has a program that teaches you how to do a specific type of coding. He'll talk about it on Wednesday evening at 8 o'clock Eastern time. And then he also preps you for interviews and also preps you to climb the corporate ladder. So he makes very good money, very, very good money. And his whole goal is to teach other Black people how to break in the industry as well. So that's going to be on Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern time. I haven't sent out the link yet because we just settled on the time on Saturday. So the link will come out probably tomorrow for everybody. Next week, we have a gentleman named Andre Hatchett coming to talk about how to make 6 figures or 5 figures part-time as a notary public. So There's a lot of money in notaries, basically stamping documents. That's what that is. There's a lot of money in being a mobile notary. So Andre Hatchett is coming to talk about that. I have another gentleman coming next week to talk about breaking into tech sales, which I'm a huge fan of as well. Again, most of these things require little to no experience. So within the 10K project, we will have all sorts of people coming to talk about different businesses you can get into and different careers you can get into. We also have our expert directory. So everybody is an expert. We're asking you to include yourself in the expert directory, because as companies are raising money and as people are raising money, companies are raising money or people need assistance, we encourage them to come to the directory in order to find the people that they need, whether they're hiring full-time employees, part-time employees, or people for contract work, or people for mentoring. So the expert directory is in the Knowledge Center. Once you become a member, we encourage you to include yourself in the expert directory. So we have here Sharnetta from New York. We have Tish from Florida. We have Wayne from Toronto. We have Dimitri from Queens. We have Breda, I hope I'm saying your name right, from New Jersey. Latrice is from Kansas City. We've got Raymond from Alabama. We've got Janine from, going out and hear about Echo. Doris from New Jersey. Beulah from Clarksville. We got Wayne here from Virginia. We've got Margie. I'm sorry, my Zoom is acting a little weird. Margie from Virginia. We've got Linda from Connecticut. We've got Gerald from Maryland, Kevin from Maryland, Jeannie from North Carolina, Janet from California. We've got another Queens, New York in here. We've got Janet from Long Beach, Kimberly from St. Louis, and somebody's asking, how do I join the expert directory? Okay, well then let me show you that right now. So what you're going to do is you have to be a member of the 10K project, but you're going to log into the Knowledge Center. Give me a second to log in and then I can show you the screen here. So you will log into the Knowledge Center. You will see to the left-hand side, it says expert directory, and you are these are all the people in the expert directory. And then you are able to go to my account and add your information here, including your skills and your industries in here. So that is the way to add yourself to the expert directory, and then click expert directory in order to see people here. And then I feel like I forgot something. There's usually something, it says here, that's what I want to say. Expert, you need to make sure that this says yes. Okay, it's defaulted to no, but once it says yes, then you're added to the expert directory and you complete all this information. Okay, so that is the way to do that. Thank you so much for the question. We've got Marilyn in the house and Jeannie saying thanks. Perfect. And then hello to everybody in YouTube. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up. We've got 6 people watching and 3 thumbs up, 3 likes. So please get the likes up in YouTube. Thank you so much to everybody in Facebook and as well. So Linda's asking, where do we pay for membership? The10kproject.com, the10kproject.com. And what you will do is, I'm just going to come to the website here, Linda, and show you how to become a member. So you're going to come here to the10kproject.com, click become a member, and you'll go down here and you'll see either the monthly membership or the annual membership. Here, you pick which one you want to do and you are able to sign up. And then if you are looking for some financial coaching, we have a partnership with Freeman Capital. They do one-on-one personal financial coaching for 6 months. It is a one-time payment of $597. It's really great because you are able to have as many meetings as you want with Freeman Capital during that 6-month time to get your money right. If they start off with mindset, and then they move on to the most pressing issues that you have, whether it's budgeting, whether you're trying to decide on where to send your kid for college that you can afford, whether you are trying to make some decisions with regards to retirement, things like that, you are able to do that. So thanks, Latrice, for putting it in here. So, okay then, everybody. So if we don't have any other questions, you're welcome, Linda. If we don't have any other questions, let me just get back into YouTube as well, make sure there are no questions there. No. Okay. Let's talk about the book of the day, Turning Setbacks into Greenbacks. This is by Willie Jolley. I have met Willie Jolley several times, and he's a very fascinating guy, great guy. Put a 1 in the chat if you've ever heard of Willie Jolley before. Put a 2 in the chat if you've never heard of Willie Jolley. A 1 in the chat if you know who he is, a 2 in the chat if you do not. Okay, I'm seeing some 2s here. I'm seeing a 1, 2, 2. Okay, so most people don't know who Willie Jolley is. Okay, great. Well, then let's take a step back here. So Willie Jolley lives in the Washington, D.C. area. He is a well-known international speaker. And he started out as a lounge singer well, first of all, what I remember of his story, his father was like in the newspaper business or something like that. And his mother, I can't remember what she did, but he came from a nice middle-class family, lived in Washington, D.C., was born and raised there. And he ended up getting married. He's still married to the same woman today. He loves her, loves her. And he started out as a lounge singer because he's a singer. He was singing jingles and things like that. And one day, and this goes to automation and changing times for everybody. One day, he was like packing the house, like things were going well in the nightclub that he worked at. And the owner of the nightclub decided to shut down the nightclub and install a karaoke machine. And all of a sudden he was out of a job. So Willie Jolley was, trying to figure out what he was going to do. And he ended up doing like drug intervention speeches in Washington, D.C. for the public schools. And from there, he really, bounced back, had a comeback with regards to being a motivational speaker. And since then, he has traveled across the globe. He was part of, if you all remember when Les Brown was married to Gladys Knight, they did like this tour where Gladys would sing and Les Brown would speak. I hope most of you have heard of Les Brown. Put a 3 in the chat if you know who Les Brown is. Put a 4 in the chat if you never heard of Les Brown. Okay, so people are saying they know who Les Brown is. So yeah, remember when Les Brown was married, low gossipy, when Les Brown was married to Gladys Knight, well, Willie Jolley opened for them. And he's pretty well known, very well known actually, on the national speaking circuit. Well, he's written several books. One of his books is called A Setback is a Setup for a Comeback. And another one of his books is called Turn Setbacks into Greenbacks. So he's very much about like, how do you take difficult times in your life and turn them around and not only thrive, but like not only survive, but excel, like push through it. And I really like him. I like his message. He's a very spiritual person. I think he studied divinity And Mammy Brown, baby boy. Yes, Trinette. Les Brown is Mammy Brown's baby boy. Yes, exactly. But Willie Jolley's story is quite inspirational. He's still alive. He's still speaking and things like that. You can find him on YouTube. He used to have a podcast as well, and all of that stuff. But the reason why I wanted to talk about this tonight is because there are oftentimes, times you may be currently going through a setback. You may have just come from a setback. You may, be going into a setback in the future. But there are people who have turned setbacks into thriving companies and into thriving careers. And I wanted to have a discussion with all of you today with regards to that. I'm going to read from certain parts of the book. I'm also going to invite you to come on. You do not have to be on camera. In fact, I will not put you on camera. But if you raise your hand, if you have something to say, I don't want to do this myself. I was expecting Tawana, but she must have had an emergency or something like that. No problem. I need co-hosts. So I'm asking any of you as I'm talking tonight, if there are things that you want to add, things that you want to say. Tonight is all about motivation, and it's all about us leaving feeling uplifted. So with that, again, I'm going to read some of this. And as you want to talk, just raise your hand in Zoom, and I will definitely acknowledge you. And I see you, Jessica, in YouTube. Hello to you. If anybody in YouTube or Facebook, Alicia, I see you in Facebook. If you all have questions or thoughts or things like that, you can add them in. I will see them as well. Janet is asking, is the membership just for 1 year? Yes, but you can renew. It'll auto renew for you. So great question. Okay, so let's start off with, I'm going to read various sections of the book here. So he says here, let's face it, money is a popular topic in popular music and in mass media, with shows like Fast Money, Mad Money, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and Who Wants to Marry a Millionaire. There are entire magazines and newspapers dedicated to money, whether it's making it, saving it, investing it, you name it. Money is a major part of our culture. And I will say this was written kind of pre-social media, where I'm seeing a lot now on social media about getting the bag, leveling up. What else do you all see? I see a lot about high value man is another one. There's a lot of like subcultures here. Marrying up, things like that, right? Okay. Yet we have all heard the saying, money isn't everything. To that, I want to say I agree. Money is not everything, but money certainly is an important thing, a very important thing. Oh, Raph is saying LLC Twitter. No Scrubs is another one, TLC, right? So money is a very important thing. I agree that money, personally, I'm not just saying this for him, I do agree with him that money isn't everything, but let you not have money. Let you not have money to eat or to pay your mortgage or your rent, or for some people to live in a safe neighborhood, then money becomes very, very important. I was just reading today that there's a shortage of 300,000 teachers in the United States. Who do you think is going to be hurt by the lack of teachers in the United States? And we're not, first of all, COVID has screwed things up. And then this lack of teachers. So money is very important. Money is very important within our households, and money is very important within the community. Jackie is saying being broke will make you miserable. Absolutely. Linda's saying, yes, no scrubs. Kevin is saying the children. Latrice is saying the teachers and the students both will suffer. Absolutely. The students are going to suffer. The teachers are going to suffer. I watched something where a teacher was talking. She's from like the president of one of these unions, and she's a Black woman, and she was saying that the kids are coming in with so much baggage that she had said that she'd been teaching for 30 years, and now it's not just her baggage that she brings into the classroom. It's taking on everything that they have as well. Jackie is saying, I couldn't be a teacher. Well, let me tell you, these days, they are bringing unqualified teachers into the classroom. There are safety issues. There are, let's be real, some of these kids, some of the problem is the kids, some of the problem is the parents. What does this have to do with money? If you have money, you can dictate where your kids go to school, what kind of education they get, what kind of chance they have, what kind of after school activities they get to participate in, etc. So Latrice is saying, yes, I give them their props. They have to deal with a lot, and then the pay isn't worth it. Look, I absolutely agree. Linda's saying there's a shortage of nurses and CNAs too. Our patients are suffering. I'm a nurse and I feel the stress. Oh, Linda, I'm so sorry. We all do. Linda's saying, my daughter is homeschooling because of the school crisis and the shootings in the schools. Absolutely. The school, I did a session on another YouTube channel. I'm going to bring it to this. The school shooting, the school security industry is worth $3.1 billion right now. And I think it's going to 10x in the next few years. There's money in the school safety thing. That's part of the reason I believe why it's not being dealt with. But Latrice is saying the love of teaching has to be your reason. Absolutely. But here's the thing. The love of teaching has to be your reason. However, there are a lot of teachers now that are opting to, work with homeschooling children, or there's a big need. For example, I was working on a business plan for teachers to teach Chinese students English. Well, if I'm a qualified teacher in the United States, I can make 2 to 3 times as much on Zoom teaching kids in China English than I can going to a school in whatever county, pick a county in the United States. So Kevin is saying, is public education systems doomed to fail? I don't have the credentials to tell you yes or no. T. Terrell is saying prison guards make more than teachers. Yes, that's a very interesting comment, T. Terrell. Not only yes, they do, but why do they? Why do they? Khadija is saying, I'm a teacher, and since the lockdown, being in the classroom has reached a new stress level. Yep. Jackie's saying that's another industry I could work, a nurse. Latrice is saying, yes, I give anyone in the medical field their props. I do too. That's what my cousin does in Tokyo. Okay. Jeannie is saying there is also a safety issue when it comes to school. I'm just going to read a few more of these because I want to get through more of the book here. Hadija saying my video is coming in the next week about homeschooling. I have a lot of perspectives on this. Hadija, if you would be willing to be interviewed by us at the 10K Project, I'd love to have you talk about homeschooling. So let me know. info@the10kproject.com if you are open to it. So let's see here. He says here, when times get tough, money's role is a necessary part of our lives becomes even clearer. Money is important, and so we must talk about it and develop skills to generate money and manage the money that we generate. So, yeah. Thanks, Khadija. Yeah, info@the10kproject.com. Yeah, people want you to share that. So we'll make sure to bring you on to talk about that. Okay, then he also talks about why it is important to be wealthy. There's a quote here by Leo Roston that says, money can't buy happiness, but neither can poverty. Money cannot buy happiness, but neither can poverty. We can all agree. Jessica in YouTube saying it's expensive to be poor. That is the truth, Jessica. It is expensive to be poor. And there have actually been studies on how expensive it is to be poor. Poverty does not buy happiness. The Bible says the love of money is the root of all evil, not money. The Bible also says, for all my Bible believers out there, that a wise man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. So a lot of people conflate what the Bible says. We should all individually, as households, and as the Black community, be, first of all, getting our money up, starting businesses, owning land, owning real estate, and ultimately building wealth. If we are not doing that, it is a slap in God's face. It's hurting our children, our grandchildren. We can't build schools. We can't support the African schools that or the African-based schools that are out here. We as a Black community, we have the power to fund businesses, which is what the 10K project is, and fund schools. Imagine if we as a people, and I'm just talking off the top of my head here, had twice a year for the fall semester and the spring semester, a big drive. We selected multiple schools throughout the United States, and everybody put in $200 each. We probably could have private schools for our children. We could select the teachers that we want. We could potentially select a lot of the curriculum that we want. We could pay them what the teachers deserve. There's no reason for teachers to have to go into their pockets for school supplies. None. I understand in a lot of our neighborhoods, there's, construction issues and things like that. Teacher is saying that we're giving our money to Nike. Exactly. We have the power. We have the power to be able to do things within our community where we could insulate ourselves a little bit more and make sure that our children have a chance. Because like Teacher is saying, there's no reason for prison guards to be making more than teachers in our communities. So it also says in here, statistics show that poor people tend to have a shorter lifespan because of the stress and the lack of preventative health programs, exercise programs, and adequate health care. Money gives you options. Money gives all of us options. It gives us options about what we're going to eat. It gives us options about where we're going to live. It gives us options about who our doctors are. We could put money into some of the maternal death issues that we have in the community, etc. But the first thing you have to do is put the mask on yourself first. It's important that your personal finance be taken care of. So let's keep going here. So he says in the book, he says here, in my book, a setback is a setup for a comeback. That's his first book. He says, I interviewed people who had incredible setbacks and were able to turn them into amazing comebacks. Some of the people in the book that he interviewed included Lee Iacocca. He was the CEO of Chrysler, Willie Famous Amos, and Tina Turner. But what about those people who were not famous? Would these principles work for them as well? The answer was a resounding yes. In fact, the stories that inspired him, being Willie Jolley, the most were stories of everyday people who had setbacks and turned them into great comebacks. He interviewed a young man who had a small business and had 2 small children and was struggling to provide for his family. He had a setback with his business and went bankrupt. He lost his house and ended up living on the street, but that was not the end of his story. He came back, and his comeback was incredible. He went on to build a company called Daymark, one of the largest merchandising companies in America. And he talks about a couple of other stories he had in that initial book, A Setback is a Setup for a Comeback. He says here, throughout the book, I shared story after story of people who had setbacks and turned them into comebacks. And I learned that there was a common thread that was apparent in all the stories. There were 4 common elements. Number 1 was the power of vision. Number 2, the power of decision. Number 3, the power of action. And number 4, the power of desire. So 1 is the power of decision. You got to decide that it's not the end for you, that you are going to be able to make it, that you are going to take the action that's needed in order to push forward, right? Number 2 is the power of vision. So seeing that you can do it, that you can overcome. Number 2 is the power of decision, deciding that you're going to do it. Number 3, the power of action. You got to move. You can't just like this whole thing with The Secret. Remember the movie The Secret that came out all those years ago? Put a 5 in the chat if you remember the movie The Secret. Put a 6 in the chat if you don't remember it. But The Secret was all the way rave. Okay, so most of you don't remember The Secret. That's fine. The Secret was all the rave back in the early 2000s, maybe. And it was all about, if you just vision it, it will come to pass, And it was this documentary, and it had, well, it wasn't really a documentary, but it was this movie. It had all of these, gurus in there that was telling you this stuff. And you're watching it and you're like, yeah, but you all haven't said anything about action, right? Faith without works is dead. So Kevin is saying there's vision and then there's dreaming. There's vision and then there's dreaming as well. Vision is being able to not only see it, but be able to touch it and feel it and say, yes, I know that this is going to happen. It's like crystal clear in your head. And the one thing about vision is, I know I'm talking a lot about the Bible today, but my people perish because of lack of vision. Our households are not doing as well because of lack of vision, right? And being able to see what other people are doing and say, hey, we can do that too, but then also be able to say, hey, how do we move beyond what people are doing today? Because that's what's going to be necessary within our communities and within our households. So he said the 4 common elements were the power of vision, power of decision, power of action, and the 4th is the power of desire. It's like this burning thing in you that you are not going to let anybody get in your way. So I kind of think of a football player. And I don't know anything about football, so don't, if fellas or ladies, if you know a football player that this applies to, put it in the chat. But there are some football players that they're like the wide receivers, I think it is. They catch the ball, and no matter who's in their way, they just, they run through them. And if they get the ball, there was this guy, Refrigerator Perry, I know that was back in the day, but Refrigerator Perry was the guy, if he got the ball and he was at the 5-yard line, it was like you had to have 6 guys on him to push him, pull him down. Otherwise, he wasn't coming down, right? That's how we have to be as well. Once we decide on something, once we're moving in action, mama can't get in your way, daddy can't get in your way, your spouse can't get in your way. Now, obviously, your spouse should be on board with most things that you're doing. I've been married before, but sometimes spouses get like a little concerned because it's not going as fast as they would like. Kids can't get in the way, pastor can't get in the way, that negative relative can't get in the way. Kevin says she can get out of the way too. Look, I'm not telling y'all to get in trouble with your spouses, but sometimes the spouses you have to say, baby, you got to trust me. You got to trust me on this, right? So the reason I'm thinking about this is because 3 years ago, I wanted to do something and I let somebody talk me out of it. And now I'm like, I should have done that 3 years ago. And I'm starting to do it now. And it's painful. It's a very painful thing. It would have been painful 3 years ago, but I wouldn't say it would have been easier, but I would be out of it by now, and instead of just getting into it. So yeah, you have to kind of think about that. Think about the fact that somebody or multiple people are going to come to you and say, this isn't a good idea. Things aren't going to work as fast as you may want. Some deal may fall through if you're doing real estate, things like that. But most people fail because they quit, and they quit too soon. And the most important thing for us is to, once you have that vision, once you have that desire, is to keep going, to keep pushing forward. So Kevin is saying they have to be prepared to take a hit. Yeah. Those are the wide receivers and the people who catch the ball. Y'all know those people in terms. So Ralph is saying the Black woman that put the secret book made a lot of money though. Was she Black? I didn't think she was Black. I thought she was from Australia. I thought she was a white woman. Let's see here. People are saying the refrigerator was a defensive tackle, but y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all know I just remembered him getting the ball and like 6 guys trying to pull him down. And he just kept going. Linda's asking, will there be a replay? Yeah, so it's on YouTube, Linda. So when we're done, you can catch it on YouTube. Definitely. Okay, so the next thing he says in the book here, and again, everybody, if you want to talk to me tonight, raise your hand. You will not be on camera, but I'm accepting people to talk. I need co-hosts, so definitely talk. So Jessica's saying that was Marshawn Lynch in his prime. Jessica's also saying God created us to be abundant. I believe that as well, definitely. So, okay. So let's see here. One of the things that they say in the book is that, oh, I have somebody with their hand up. We got Dimitri. Hello, Dimitri. You can unmute yourself. Hello.
Hello.
Hey, Dimitri.
Sorry about that. I had to connect my camera for the microphone.
Okay, no problem. What do you think? What are your thoughts?
Well, amazing stuff as usual. I was there a couple weeks ago with the 7-figure rent.
Mm-hmm.
And what I thought of is one, I have a friend of mine who has a Jamaican restaurant.
Okay.
He has it in Queens, right by the bay. He has like a dock entrance and a street entrance. This season was his second season.
Mm-hmm.
And then last week, Wednesday, the whole thing caught on fire.
Oh, no.
So he wasn't insured, and It's like I was thinking like I don't know how 10K could help. And the second thing I wanted to do in the air is that for myself, I really wanted to hopefully connect with you for the business plan
Uh-huh.
because in order to be in a position to do the grants and the other stuff, the funding, any kind of funding,
Okay.
important element, and I'm not really skilled at that area.
Okay. Well, we are going to do the business plan mastermind group. That was something that was asked about last week. But in the meantime, you can email me info@the10kproject.com. But we're probably going to do the mastermind in September. I've got to talk with Tawana. We're working on some stuff with the calendar with regards to that.
I emailed you last week because you told me to email you last week, and I did it.
You did? Okay, I didn't see it, so I'll check again. And do me a favor, send me an email tonight just so it's fresh in my info@the10kproject.com, and I'll check it tonight when we get off.
Any advice for my friend?
Well, I mean, it's going to be tough because he didn't have insurance. So he is not going to necessarily have like seed capital unless he raises additional seed capital. So the only two suggestions that I would have is if he can get a quote of what it would take to rebuild. So
He doesn't think himself. It's just the equipment, the tools. I guess that's part of the quote.
Okay, so if it's the equipment and the tools, if he was profitable beforehand, he may be able to get financing for the equipment. Right? Or he may be able to get another SBA loan. There are economic development centers that have all sorts of community development financing institutions that really do focus on on funding his type of business.
Right.
He will need 20% down. So if he has a 20%, great. If not, then he would need to maybe be creative and, do a catering or do a couple of catering gigs in order to get that money to, and that way he doesn't have to pay anybody back. But that would be my suggestion. Yeah. And it could be hey, support me. I'm trying to get my 20% down so that I'm able to rebuild the restaurant. And that's how I would do it. I would also have him focus on catering right now as well. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so Linda wants to talk. You can unmute yourself, Linda.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can. Hi.
Great. Hi. So I was wondering, do we have a book club so that we can prepare for these discussions and we can all actually have something intelligible to contribute?
So we don't, but I will commit to pulling together a book club for this.
That will be awesome.
I will admit that the last 2 week sessions have been like totally crazy with guests and things like that. So I just decided on this on Friday on this book. So that was partially me, but we'll do that. We'll put together a book club, and that way everybody can read the books. And we may do like one book every other month or something like that. Because I know people. Go ahead.
But we could do one book a month. We really could if we get it on Audible or get an Audible book.
Okay.
Because we can listen to and from work. You could listen to books a lot easier than you can read them.
That's true. So I'm a reader, but it's not so much that that I can't read a book a month. It's just that, you get so busy and things like that, but we'll commit to it. We'll commit to doing a book club and having a discussion. And also like with things like this, I usually like to have a panel of members as well. So we'll kind of wrap it all together. Yeah.
I would love to join you with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I will put that on the list of things that we want to do. I'm talking to Tawana on Wednesday, and we'll prepare that as well.
Do you have a content calendar so you guys are like prepared in advance for things?
Yeah, I have content for the next 2 months
Awesome.
of like guests coming and things like that. So
Mhm.
I'm super prepared when it comes to that. But you know, we're also adding little things in as well as things pop up. So yeah,
That's pretty cool. That's
yeah.
pretty cool. I can't wait to join. I'll be joining soon so I can
Yeah.
just roll up my sleeves and get in there and help you all.
Oh,
Okay.
thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
I'm really looking forward to it. Thanks so much.
Take care.
You too.
And we have Kevin here who wants to talk. So Kevin, you can unmute yourself. You can unmute yourself, Kevin.
Okay, thanks for the session tonight.
Absolutely.
I'm happy to join. I'm always interested in these sessions that you've been having over many months in which I've been participating, and I love it so much. This is one of the great things ever.
Thank you.
So for tonight, is there a particular subject or context on which you are inviting us to comment?
Anything, I mean, with regards to like the book that I'm reading or something else that you're thinking of. So I'll keep it kind of broad, but hopefully within wealth building of some sort.
Okay, so just a little bit I got from your comments and excerpts from the book. One of the issues that come to mind for me, in which are personally relevant, is just being able to take action and perceiving risk and trying to make that assessment to get past those things. I mean, we all have to make decisions in whatever we do. But what often happens is that we're unable to bring some discipline to how we make those choices. How do we assess the risks that are in front of us, and then to take action accordingly, either to do something or not do something, but do it consciously, because we came to a conclusion that either doing it was best for us or not doing it was best for us. So I think that's the greatest challenge. It's certainly been the greatest challenge for me. So to the extent that we can, find some way to approach those decisions in a disciplined way and not rely on emotions per se, I think would be a great benefit.
Yeah. So the interesting thing about emotion is that I disagree a little bit with regards to that. I think that anything that you do that's like a huge change in your life starts from emotion. And it usually starts from emotion of enough is enough. I'm disgusted with this, whether it's your weight, whether it's your income, whether it's your marriage, your lack of marriage, your kids, anything like that, right? And then it's followed up by logic and thoughts with regards to, okay, what are the things we're going to do? I personally, in my life, have noticed that anytime that I'm not doing something, like there's this, this analysis paralysis, or I'm not moving at all, it usually comes from either I'm not sure that I want to do it, which you're talking about the risk analysis there, or I'm not sure how to do it, or I'm not sure that the benefits are going to outweigh the pain. And what I believe is that for anybody, it's going to be one of those three things, maybe a couple of other things, but one of those three major things. If I'm not sure I should do something, there are times when like taking a step back and waiting is the best thing, and really figuring out why I'm not willing to put myself out there. But then, there comes a point where you also have to ask yourself, is it just fear? Is it just fear that I'm going to start this and not be successful? And And I think that all of those things are very tough, especially the older that we get. You know, when you talk about risk analysis, as you get older, it's not just you. You're not just 20 anymore. You can't just bounce back easily. But there are people who in their 40s, like Tina Turner, like my mother had to bounce back at 40. So many of our parents have to bounce back at 40. Or like a Colonel Sanders who started KFC Chicken, he was bouncing back in his 60s. There are people out there who have later in their lives been able to, you know, to look at the risk analysis and say, I'm going to go for it anyway. So I think there's a lot to think
absolutely. That's what it comes down to. I mean, you have to get to
Yeah.
that point, you know, and we always hear the great stories about people who had ups and downs.
Mhm.
They had to get up, they had to pick themselves back up, they had setbacks and failures,
Mhm.
but they ultimately prevailed
Mhm.
for whatever reason. Those become the popular stories.
Yeah. I think
Unfortunately,
that
we never hear the stories about the people who just never persevered.
yeah.
For whatever reason, they kept coming up against some type of roadblock that just smashed them into the ground. We don't talk about those stories.
Yeah. So and it would be interesting to do like a research project on this some point. I would be interested in knowing what percentage of people really did have a massive roadblock that could not be dealt with versus what percentage of people just gave up too quickly and too easily because things got kind of tough. Because I wonder if it's the 80-20 rule.
Right.
For something like that. And if there is something massive that is in a person's way, maybe it is God's way of saying, I'm protecting you.
Well, apparently I've been getting a lot of protection.
But you know, at first you're upset, you know, but then you're like, I don't know, it could be 10 years later, you see something, you're like, well, I dodged that bullet. You know, Jackie's saying I feel that way sometimes. Yeah, look, I used to have this prayer of God, open the doors I should go through and close the doors I shouldn't, because sometimes you, with your naked human eye, you don't know what kind of trouble you're going to get into. But it could be that God put something insurmountable there. It could just be that it's a regular obstacle to prove your commitment.
Okay, so I have a question for you.
Okay.
How did you choose not to participate in the trade all markets business buying group?
How did I choose not to participate in it?
Yes.
It was only because I chose to do something else, and it's something big that I'm working on that I will eventually let everybody know about. But I only have a certain amount of time. And the thing that I wanted to do 3 years ago is now occupying like a lot of my free time.
That's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
good. I'm glad.
Yeah.
I'm glad for you. I'm glad for you because you were able to make that choice. You
Mm-hmm.
were able to say this other thing is more important to me, and this is where I need to put my time, effort, and energy.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and I give a lot of time to the 10K project. I do a lot within the community with that. And I still have a full-time business. And, you know, right now I'm working close to 7 days a week. So eventually something has to give. And I think that's a big thing as well with all of us is there's a limited number of hours in a day, and you will have to kind of figure out what you're going to prioritize and what you won't.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right, I'm done. You
Mhm.
can give time to the next person that wants to step up.
Okay, thank you so much, Kevin. Really appreciate it. Okay, so I don't see anyone else's hand here. Um, so if again, you want to come on talk, you can. Absolutely. So Angela's saying, I also think sometimes we have goals and a plan, but it is not our purpose, and that can cause setbacks and disappointments. It's possible. Linda's saying, I have said that plenty of times. I dodge that bullet, and I say that same prayer about opening and closing doors and windows. Yep. Sometimes it's just not your time. Sometimes it's not the right person. Sometimes it's, it could be all sorts of things. But sometimes we just didn't put in enough effort as well. And we have to be honest about that too. So I'm going to continue reading here a little bit more here for you. So this is all about getting pressed because pressure makes diamonds. And it says here, being pressed is also a time when we move beyond a casual interest in achieving our goals and step up to a level of total commitment. If you are casual, you will become a casualty. I am confident that you must make a decision to move forward beyond the casual level and get focused, get serious, and get pressed. And one of the things that I think about is the fact that we all have 168 hours in a week. I do think anything that we decide to set our minds to take a time commitment and take an energy commitment. There have been scientific studies about willpower and about energy. You only have a certain amount of energy per day. So if you have been in your job for 20 years, then you are able to take that outside, project on. But if you've ever noticed, if you start a job, what happens? You tend to use a lot of brain energy getting up to date with that job, doing that job, which is oftentimes why when you're like starting a new job, like it needs to be your total focus. Or if your kid is in trouble, then your kid needs to be your total focus. I knew this woman years ago who she was married. One of her oldest son was having some problems, getting into trouble. And she literally, fortunately, she had a husband that could take care of the mortgage and take care of the bills. She left work and she focused 100% on that son. And today he's doing well. But, sometimes it does take those types of things. Sometimes, again, with the casualness, those roadblocks are put in to determine if you are serious or if you're a casualty of not reaching your goals, of not reaching whatever level you're deciding you want to reach. So those pressure makes diamonds because nothing ever comes easy. All right, so they have a couple of examples of people here who became rich as a result of a recession or an economic downturn. There's a guy named Michael J. Cullen who created a new concept called the supermarket during the Great Depression. He moved away from people away from the mom and pop grocery store to a place where they could get everything they wanted under one roof, usually for better prices. He saw an opportunity to help people save money and time, and he prospered during the worst economic situation America has ever seen by thinking and coming up with something that helped people be more successful. So, yeah, the grocery store created during a recession, during the Great Depression, I should say. Second is a guy named Charles Darrow. You might not know his name, but you know his game. The game was Monopoly. He lost everything in the crash in 1929, but refused to give up and throw in the towel. He worked on an idea for a new board game to help people feel like they were rich. Now Darrow became a multimillionaire. J. Paul Getty. J. Paul Getty used money he received in an inheritance to buy oil stocks after the stock market crash, when the prices were low. He then held them and sold them for big profit when prices started to rise. So a couple of weeks ago, I did a session on my Thursday session called You Don't Have to Participate in a Recession. I still believe that. Put a 7 in the chat if you believe it. You do not have to participate in the recession. Who says you have to participate in a recession? You may see something right now, and you may say, you know what? Right now, that thing is low, but in the next 36 months, I believe it's going to go up. This is not financial advice. Check with your financial advisor. But, we need to really take these things seriously. If you don't have enough money in order to purchase that thing right now, ask yourself, is there a business you could start? Is there a service you can offer to people? I'm doing I was working on a a presentation about like how to start a coaching business. And I started putting some numbers together, and to make $100,000, if you charge each people $5,000 for whatever consultation that you do, like I write business plans and I've charged people $5,000 before, it only takes 20 clients to make $100,000. T. Terrell, you saw my gold digger show. Look, I don't know why you brought that up here. But yes, look. But sometimes the first question you need to ask yourself is, how can I get the money? Being creative. And that's one of the things that I want to do in our next mastermind session with regards to businesses, is really getting creative about what kind of business can I start? What's the easiest way for me to set it up to start getting cash in the door? Because once you start validating that, then it's easier for you to be able to grow it, add more money to it, expand it, etc. So there's just a lot of opportunity that's out there. And there's a saying by a guy named Kehar Becker. He says that anytime there's a change in technology, in the law, in social issues, somebody gets rich. There's been a lot of change in the law, a lot of change. Roe v. Wade has been overturned, and I'm not telling you which way to think about it, but there are going to be a lot of people making money on both sides from the overturning of Roe v. Wade. I was reading to the community last Thursday, if you all caught my What's the 411 session, that the Republicans, now that Roe v. Wade has been overturned, are focusing on rewriting the Constitution. And they think they can do it in the next 5 years. I don't know if it'll be 5 years, but there's a chance they could get it done. It's going to affect Black America. It's going to affect all of America. There are going to be people who get rich because of that. There has been a change, a swift change in technology, and it is going to continue. Technology is changing. Cybersecurity is changing. The CHIPS Act came. So semiconductor manufacturing is being brought back to the United States. Web3 is starting. The metaverse is here. All sorts of things that are happening. Crypto tax changes, etc. There's a lot of opportunity out there. You have to figure out how you're going to get rich from it. You may have a setback right now, but how do you turn that into a greenback? The guy who started Calendly, he started it out of frustration. He started it out of frustration for trying to set up a meeting. $3 billion valuation later. Anything is possible. He could have had a setback being a Black entrepreneur, saying there's no way that anyone's going to give me funds. He actually hid the fact that he was Black for many years as he was growing that company, hid the fact that he was a Black founder. We need to turn that around by starting to fund our own businesses, but we're working on that, right? Within the 10K project. Linda's saying, I was trained in Web3 recently as a copywriter. Phenomenal. Yeah, technical writing is really big. Kevin is saying, how do you turn a setback into a greenback? And this is what we're talking about here. So the setbacks you have in life could be financial, it could be health-wise, it could be something happening with your children, we all have setbacks, but how do we find the opportunities in those setbacks? Could be relationships. There are people who got dumped in a relationship and now are making 7 figures giving relationship advice from failed relationships, right? So it could be anything. Looking at the setback that you're having and asking, is there a way for me to profit from this? Just like the guy who started Monopoly. He said, well, everybody needs to know how to make money, right? So I'm going to do this last story here, and then we're going to go. I like this story. This is Willie Jolley writing here. I saw an old friend with whom I'd grown up, and I asked about his brother, who was my elementary school playmate. My old friend asked if I would call his brother because his brother had been going through some tough times and needed some encouragement to get back on his feet. I said I would be happy to do so, and I made the call. After a few initial greetings with my old classmate, I said, so I saw your brother and he asked me to call you. How are things going? Close quote. My old classmate responded, things are not going too well. I have been out of work for a long time and I am way behind on my bills. So then Willie Jolley asked, where have you been looking for work? And the friend said, well, I have not been looking. Willie said, why not? The friend's response was, I have not been looking because the people on television said that there are no jobs. Close quote. Unfortunately, many people buy into his thinking because they trust the news media and the truth tellers in society, when really they are sharing a perspective and their perspective of truth. With what I'm doing right now and the move I'm trying to make, there are people who have said to me, Cherie, that's going to be really tough to do. It's going to be, nobody has said to me, you can't do it. That's a good thing, right? But all of them have said it's going to be really tough. It's going to be really tough. It's going to be really tough. We are going to have to say, you know what? I know it's going to be tough, but I know I can do it. I know I'm going to have to talk to 300 to 500 people in order to get this thing done that I want to get done. I'm going to have to break it down into how many people am I going to talk to a day in order to do what needs to be done. How many months am I willing to persist with this? Because it may take a few months, several months, for me to do the thing that I want to do. But it'll have a 15 to 20 year effect on my life, right? How many of us let social media, let the people in Clubhouse, the people on YouTube, the people in Facebook tell us what we can't do? How many people let the system or people telling you about the system tell you what you can't do? How many of us let our mothers and our fathers tell us what we can't do? How many of us let our pastors tell us what we can't do? It may not be easy to do it. It may not be easy to do it, but you bake that into the cake. You bake it into the cake and you say, you know what? I'm prepared. I'm prepared to get into tech. I know it's going to take me 6 to 9 months to get a job. It's going to take me 6 months of studying and 3 months of interviewing and getting into the right place. You could be in a whole new tax bracket in 9 months, in 12 months. You know that business is going to be difficult to start. I always tease you about having barbecue sauces and shea butter, but hey, if you're like, Cherie, this is the business I want to start, I will applaud you. You know that there's a lot of competition. You know it. It's baked into the cake. You say, you know what? My sauce is special. My dream is special. My shea butter is special. There's a community of people that are going to want Cherie shea butter, right? And you grow that. For some of you, it may be repairing your marriage. It's going to be tough. He did this, she did that. We need our Black families together. We need our families together, period. If you're married interracially, I'm okay with that, right? We need more families in the United States of America that are together, that are working together. Some of us, need to get with our family members and need to say, we're going to therapy, we're going to work this thing out. Some of you haven't spoken to your sister in 12 years. You can't even remember why you were mad at her. You haven't spoken to your brother. You haven't spoken to your cousins. We can turn setbacks into greenbacks. We can turn setbacks into stronger families. We can turn setbacks into opportunities. We can turn setbacks like slavery into a greater Black community, like the 10K project and the Bet on Black pitches that we have. We don't have to be victims. So that's the session for this evening. That's the session for you to really think about if you're currently in a setback. What's stopping you? And decide that you're not going to let it stop you any longer, any further. You're going to move forward with something. If you are not making good wages right now, figure out why you are not making the amount of money you should be making and correct it. If you need to start that business, start it. If you need to repair that relationship, repair it. If you need financial coaching, get off the sidelines, contact Freeman Capital, contact whomever you need to contact, get in there. You baking into the cake that you're going to cry. You're baking it into the cake that you're going to struggle. You're baking it into the cake that it's going to be tough. You have to lose 50 pounds. The doctor told you that you're on high blood pressure, and if you don't do something about it, your family's going to have to bury you. It's going to be tough. You're going to have this weight on you. But if you can get through, if you are like a diamond and you can get through that pressure moment. Some people are saying you're drinking too much. you're doing drugs, you're self-medicating, anything, any setback is tough. But we can have comebacks. We can have them personally, we can have them within our families, and we can have them within our community. So that's it. That's the discussion for the evening. I hope to see you tomorrow night for the Bet on Black pitch. I unfortunately do not remember who's coming, so y'all just come tomorrow night at 8 p.m. and I love you too. Thank you so much. I want you to really think about what was said tonight, and whatever is blocking you, pray about it. If you believe in prayer, pray about it. And if God says move forward, then maybe that's what you need to do. All right, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow night. Take care.